Lorks a Lordy, it is the Tech Addicts Podcast. This week, all the stuff from Samsung Unpacked, including the Z Fold 5, Z Flip 5, Tab S9 series, a rumoured Tab S9 FE could be coming soon, the Lume Pad 2 adds an extra dimension, welcome to the Tech Addicts Podcast. I am Gareth, the host, and this is Ted, the other host.
Hello, everyone, and a very happy August to you. We're back again to taunt you for a couple of hours, or even more. We nearly broke the record last time. The sun is shining here, and it's quite warm, but yesterday was lovely. It was raining, and it was cold. I even put my cardigan on.
Oh, blimey, right? Is it an old lady's cardigan with big, deep pockets and glasses around your neck?
Actually, it's more like a Starsky and Hutch cardigan.
Huggy Bear? No, he didn't wear the hug. Right, okay.
Paul Michael Glazier, he was the one that wore it. Yeah. That's
right. Yeah.
Now, what's the weather like there?
It's somewhat grey and rainy. Yesterday was lovely. It was a very nice day. Yeah. There was a wee bit of rain in the morning, enough to make me go, I'm not going to cut any more hedge today.
Yeah.
So I'll try and put it off to tomorrow when hopefully it'll rain lots. And it looks like it's going to rain lots today.
Excellent.
So no more hedge cutting today either.
You lazy turd.
Oh, I hate hedge cutting. It's the worst job in the world. And I've got a fairly large perimeter hedge around the garden that's tall too, to keep the prying eyes out, being a celeb and all that. I have to keep the paparazzi out. So it just takes a lot to cut it. I've done about a quarter of it so far, and I'm dreading doing the other 3/4.
It's a bad choice of house, I can tell you. I've seen a photograph of your garden, which you've shared with me in the past, and it's just massive. I couldn't be arsed with that. No wonder you don't want to do it.
Yeah, and I leave it laid on. You see, I have a great excuse, and anyone who wants to put off cutting hedges in July, remember it's nesting season in July, and birds nest in hedges. Come August, then they should have vacated the nests, and you do it then.
Oh, okay. Very good.
It seems to work. My wife is an animal lover type bird enthusiast, so she quite happily doesn't nag at me to get the hedges cut. Anyway.
I'll tell you what has happened since we last recorded is I kept threatening to do this. I've got a 5G router. I noticed. You might remember. I noticed that on my phone, EE seemed to have thrown a North Wales switch to turn 5G on, and I thought, "Ooh, that's good." And on my phone, I was getting stupidly fast speeds, like 250 down, and about 80 up, and so I thought, right, okay, I could try this on my other EE SIM card, which is in my router, but oh dear, the router is only a 4G router. So I went off to try and find a 5G router. Somebody in the MeWe group in our classifieds was selling one second hand. I couldn't believe how expensive these were on Amazon. They were like up to 900 quid, and even the ordinary prices were about 200, 300 quid. They're just disproportionately expensive. I don't know why, but they are. Anyway, I got this one for 80 quid from somebody in the group. And it's a ZTE MC801A, and it looks like a kind of box. I don't know how to describe it really. But it's a kind of white box. It doesn't look like an antenna-based one or anything, but it clearly is. It works very well. The only thing that, and I spoke to you about this off air, the only thing is that I've got a problem with this one, is that it doesn't seem to work with my computer using the the Ethernet through the ring main thingy. If I set up the Ethernet through the ring main thingy to my computer, by the time it gets to my computer, it's clearly only working at 4G speeds and not 5G. Unplug the cable, let the computer connect wirelessly, and it's bang up to speed like my phone is. You had a theory on that, didn't you?
I just figured that perhaps the Ethernet port on the back of your motherboard was a slower port. It wasn't a 1 gigabit per second one. It might just be was it 10100 or whatever.
Right. So I don't know how to change that, and I can't be asked, frankly, because it's working really well wirelessly anyway. But this ZTE router was German, so inside the box, it's all the leaflets and everything are in German. Apparently, when they first released this, they had a deal going with some carrier operator, cellular operator in Germany, and they seemed to ship them from China out to that one contractor. We were looking before the show, and it looks like you can now get them on Amazon UK, but initially, certainly, that wasn't the case.
Well, I had a quick Google around whilst you were filling us in there, and I have located that it was sold here through 3.
Right.
3 branded it and put it out. There's a website called Ken's Tech Tips, Ken's Tech Tips, Ken's Tech Tips, which has all it was £20 a month, and it would get you 100 megabits per second, and it was the ZTE 5G hub on 3.
Right.
So they must have just cornered the market or so. ZTE decided we're only going to sell to this one company.
Anyway, I was quite pleased to get mine for 80 quid, and it seems to work fine. And it saved me buying one for like 200 or 300 quid. So, hurrah! And the speeds are just amazing. It's made a huge difference to how I operate. I always thought that I didn't need anything more than 4G speeds, but when you get a faster speed, like you've discovered, it's a bit addictive, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you get Pornhub in the HD, not just SD. But seriously, don't throw up there, Ted. You're all right.
Oh dear. Anyway,
you've been testing other stuff as well, haven't you, this week? You've got a combination of things.
Yeah. I'm all Samsunged up at the moment. I've been playing with the Motorola Razr 40 Ultra, which I'm reviewing for PSC, and that I'm in the kind of middle of that. But in the process, I've also got a Samsung Watch, which was loaned to me by somebody on the MeWe group, Tim Evans. Thank you, Tim. I've also got my tablet, my S8, my Tab S8. We'll talk about tablets shortly in the show. And also, I've switched to the Samsung Galaxy S23 phone. And those things in combination are just so clever together. I never thought I'd wear a smartwatch again at all, because I gave up wearing watches 30 years ago. But I've had this on for a week or 2 weeks now, and I've just got used to it being there. And it's so clever. It's so convenient just to look at your wrist to see notifications coming in. And just before we recorded today, I put Do Not Disturb on the watch, and it also has gone across to the phone. The phone knew that I wanted to be Do Not Disturb, so the command from the watch did both devices. It's all this kind of joined up thinking. Samsung is, as you found when you used to have Samsung stuff, it's a bit like being an Apple user. You know, you get into bed with the company and you start to use all their products, and they all talk to each other nicely, and it's then hard to get yourself dug out again, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But I did find that, some things, because they pack in so many features, if you want to turn something on or off, it can be in various different places. It's not all centrally located. And having the central brain of it spread across those 3 devices, it's not inherently obvious that you need to go to a particular device to turn on something. And I got a bit tired of that. But perhaps things have changed since I left Samsung, 2-3 years ago.
Right.
and tried Pixel just for that sort of. I really wanted a simplistic
Yeah,
lifestyle
I get
with
that.
the Pixel.
I get that.
This was just far too rich, and you're having 3-course meals for dinner.
Yeah. I do get that. There's an awful lot in Samsung that you've got. As I say, a bit like Apple. You start to get inside under the duvet with Apple. You can get really, really entrenched, as many people have. I'll just do a live test here. I've got the watch on, and I'm going to turn the Do Not Disturb off. Looking at the screen on the phone, turn it off, and yep, sure enough, it turns off on the phone as well. But I've got a huge learning curve here because I've never used a smartwatch before, and I'm going to have to learn all the stuff inside.
Which one is it you've got? The Watch 5 or the Watch 5 Pro?
No, it's a 4.
Right, okay.
But I'm thinking about buying a 5 because they're really well priced at the moment. But the one that Tim sent over is a standard 4, not a 4 Classic or a 4 Pro, whatever it's called. So it hasn't got the bezel around the turning bezel around the outside.
That's nice.
Yeah. But it would be nice to have that. The 6, well, we're slinkily linking into Hardline for the hardware here because the 6 Classic, which has now been released at the Samsung Unpacked event last week, has got that ring, that dial round the screen back again. And I think that's really nice, in the same way as you get a crown with Apple watches and a crown with some other watches as well. This dial round the outside, like a diver's watch almost, and you can negotiate menus via that. Now, on this one, I can do that, but the bezel is on the screen, so it's round the outside. The outside bit of the OLED panel becomes a virtual scroll wheel, and so you do it that way. But having a physical one would be really nice. The Watch Classic, the Galaxy Watch Classic has got that, but the basic Watch 6 has not. There's not a huge amount of differences between them apart from that, except that in fact, there aren't any. There's a bit of a difference in the wireless charging speed by the looks of the specs, but other than that, they look exactly the same to me. The 6 and the 6 Classic.
Well, I remember years ago, whenever you were talking about smartwatches and how you just couldn't get into them because you had a fairly large wrist. How did you get around that one? Or was it the 4G collection? Just your wrist wasn't as bulky as it used to be?
No, it was, and I failed with 2 straps. The one that came in the box was horribly silicone-y, and as soon as I put it on, my wrist was itching. And it hardly... I was on the last hole. When I put it around my wrist, I was on the last hole to make it go round, and it was just nasty. I went then and took some advice from someone on the MeWe group about this metal one, and this metal one I couldn't even get it over my hand. So every time I took it off, I had to actually disconnect the strap from the thingy, and I just couldn't get it past the bulk of my hand to get it on and off. So yeah, that was clearly too short for me as well. Fortunately, Tim also in the box supplied me with this cloth kind of linen material elasticated one, and that works an absolute treat. It's really comfortable, doesn't irritate my skin, goes round me, it's a good length of size as well, and yeah, it works really, really well. So in answer to your question, I found a way through.
Okay, all right. And does the face of the watch look a bit lost on your wrist, or does it feel good, or is it even more pronounced because of the size of the battery? I do know the Watch4, my wife has one, but it's quite. I think hers is the female version, not the female version, but the smaller version.
The 40mm. This is the 44, I think. Although I'm not particularly up with the technical aspects of it, and it looks like the right size for my wrist. If you were an ordinary sized person with a smaller kind of bone skeleton than me and flesh, I think you could easily think it's too big on your wrist. But for me, it looks just right. It doesn't look too big and stupid, and it doesn't look too small. So I think I've got the right size one here.
Right, okay. So you're in a happy little world with your 3 Samsung devices.
It's certainly an interesting foray into the whole Samsung world, which I've previously kind of veered away from. Like you, I was more inclined towards Pixels and stuff. But I've got my tablet here as well, and I think there's nothing wrong with my Tab S8. It's really good. And I should be, using it. And why not? So anyway, I'll see how long it lasts. On the edges of this this folding flip Motorola that's coming as well. But Samsung Unpacked tablets.
Well, actually, before we do, there was something I wanted to say off the back of that,
right.
And that is that having used the Pixel for the last almost 2 years now, I do have that itch to go back to Samsung because, as you well warned me, there's just an annoyance with the Pixel, and it's sort of a frillless presentation, and it's really presented itself in the last in the last week. I've been doing little YouTube shorts. I'm gradually going through my collection of Blu-rays and Ultra HDs and things like that, just show them off, kind of.
Oh yeah, I saw some of those.
And I was playing around with editing on the Pixel, and it's a real pain in the ass.
Right.
There's nothing really natively outside of Google Photos that assists you with it. So you've got to go and find something. And then if you want to do something slightly more ambitious, like I'd done 2 takes of one thing where I showed off the spine of a Blu-ray, and I liked the audio on one, and I liked the video on the other, and I thought, I'll just switch those around. But to do that, I had to download, about 3 apps and convert 2 files into various different things in order to be able to do that. And it was just, I bet if I was on Samsung, they would have some sort of integrated video video editing system that allows me to do most of this.
Right.
And I would only have to download maybe 1 app to convert something, or even going and getting something like Cyberlink. I tried Cyberlink's Power Director. That's something I remember using years and years ago whenever I couldn't afford a proper editing suite. But Cyberlink was just all singing, all dancing, really, really simple editing software. And it didn't quite do it either, because it's on a mobile device, so they don't have to put in all the features. You're better off sitting down at a full computer and doing the editing. I thought that completely defeats the point of doing a short. But I want to be able to have a wee bit of creative control in that I can use this if this is good and that. How do other people do it? They must be doing it either with an Apple phone and an Apple's iMovie or whatever it's called on their platform, or they're using a Samsung, and they're avoiding things like the Pixel because the Pixel just doesn't cover those sorts of things. They're trying to put it into Google Photos, but it's just not there yet. It really isn't. You can't edit videos competently on Android outside of the big names, I feel.
Right, yeah. I've never edited a video in my life, so I've no idea what you're talking about. But I understand what you're saying, but I have got no experience at all of that, and I don't know if Samsung would be better at that. But I guess you're hoping so going forward, aren't you?
Well, I vaguely remember it's been a while since I got rid of the S8 Plus, but I remember bashing through videos on that at a crazy rate. Because there was in the Samsung store, there was Samsung's own video app that allowed you to do basic editing. And whilst I didn't edit the whole video, I was able to, if I was out sitting in the car for an hour, I'd be able to just, assemble a piece and then stick it up on Google Drive, and it would be ready on my computer for me to use in a bigger video, and get more out of it. So I could sort of do smaller bits while I was away, whereas with the Pixels, you can't really do much, and it's frustrating. And I'm noticing that with an awful lot of things. It's like, how do I achieve that without having to download 3 or 4 different apps that are all, ad filled, or you have to pay a subscription to be able to get, a month's worth of whatevers. Just annoyed me.
The Google way, the Google model. the basis of Android, you can add on whatever you like by apps, and we support all the advertising basis because that's the basis of our own company, and that's what Alphabet does.
Yes, yes. Right, Hardline for the hardware, and you hinted at the Unpacked event, and we got a lot from Samsung. We got quite a lot of announcements of fun bits of tech, all of which are somewhat upgrades. And before we jump into it, I just noticed this morning whenever I was talking to you about it, because I've ordered one device. The devices are the usual naming conventions for their phones is the S23, and we're not into 24 yet, so we won't get the S24 until next year. But they continue to market the tablets just using S9, S10, or S7, 8, 9. They haven't moved that over to it's not the Samsung Galaxy Tab S23.
No.
And I wonder why that is.
Yeah. Good question. I don't know. This may be the same reason that Google have stuck with that convention too. Maybe it's because they're trying to copy Apple, because Apple are not trying to do that. In fact, Samsung is the only one, I think, that has tried to keep those year placeholders on their phone line, isn't it? And now with the folding devices and the flip devices, they've gone back to 2, 3, 4, 5 on those, haven't they?
They have, yeah, which shows the incarnation, and you don't tend to want the 4 whenever the 5 is out, because when you're talking about the watches, I was thinking, oh, my wife's on the Watch4 flip. Yeah. There's been the 5, and now there's the 6. She's way behind. Yeah. It makes you feel that. Whereas maybe with an S23, you don't tend to notice as much because we're still in 23, and it's only when we get to 24 that it'll start to feel a bit old.
That's all psychology, though, because with Samsung, this S23 I've got here is actually a PR loan model, but they seem to be leaving it with me long term, which is why I'm more invested in it now. But what I was going to say was that with this 4 OS updates and 5 years of security, this is going to be supported till 2027, I think it is, or is it 2028? Yeah, 2028 it will stop getting security. And you think to yourself, well, just because something's called the previous year, it's not going to bother me. I suppose it might bother a lot of people.
Oh, well, it is. It's whenever they start announcing the new things, you feel that. Well, at least I feel it. You know, the intense desire to upgrade when you know that there's a new one, and it is, as you say, psychological, and you have to kind of slap yourself about and go, no, I don't need it. Yeah. I went through that whenever the Pixel 7 was. Wait, 7? Yeah.
So we're currently on 7, yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to work out which one do I have, the 7 or the 6? Because I've got the 6, and I had to rein myself in from going out and getting the 7. I think, nope, I'm going to survive 2 years with the Pixel 6 Pro. Mm-hmm.
And the 8 is coming.
Yes. But I don't know that I'm going to go there. I quite fancy the S23.
Yeah, definitely. I at the moment, I tend to support that. But then I'm all Samsunged up. Next time, in a fortnight's time when we record again, I probably won't be. So
what did we get?
We got the... Yeah, sorry, go on.
No, you're fine. We'll start with the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 5, which is I'd say this is probably the most exciting and the big one that people are most looking forward to, which is the folding device, not the flipping device, the folding device. And it cuts down the middle, and I don't know why I'm explaining that. They've been making these for 5 years now, and Pixel have one, Oppo have one, Honor, Huawei have them as well. So they're here to stay. And compared to what we had last year, are there any really big differences between the Fold 5 and the Fold 4?
No, I don't think so. I think the news here was to do with the Flip 5. And it's interesting that I've got the Motorola, the new flip phone, the 40 Ultra here, which the Americans have called the Razr Plus. Same thing though, because they're all now fighting each other to have the biggest outside display, and this whole event was mainly about the outside display on the Flip 5, which is not quite as big as the Motorola one here. It doesn't cover the whole of the front of it. The camera island is actually cut out a bit and kind of swooped around, whereas with the Motorola, they've just, given the V's up to that, and they just said, no, we'll just include it right round the cameras. So the whole thing is technically bigger. I don't particularly like. Here's a preamble on my review coming. I don't particularly like what Motorola have done with the outside screen on the 40 Ultra, the Razr Plus, but I'm hoping that the Flip 5, they've been more conservative and they've done something different and better with it. We haven't quite seen fully what they're doing with it yet. But yes, going back to your original question, I think that the news here is in the Flip and not in the Fold. The Fold is very much evolutionary.
All right, okay. Well, I looking through the specs earlier on today, I thought that probably the biggest changes were actually in the Fold, where they'd managed to reduce the weight and things like that, and they had it now that you could actually fold it out 180 degrees. It doesn't. I think the Fold 4 almost got there, and you had to push it just that wee bit further to get it perfectly folded out, and they'd managed that, and there's a zero gap between whenever you fold it over. I think the Flip 4 had a gap, a very small gap, down by the hinge. Yeah. So I felt that the Fold 5 had really made a big step up, and it was actually where we had hoped it would be when the first Fold came along.
Yeah, I didn't think it quite... Well, you see, you've got the camera bump on the back anyway. So you say folding it flat, but you can't really fold it flat because it's going to be rocking on the camera island all the time, isn't it?
Very true, but then that's the same with every phone. You know, if you put the Pixel down, there's a camera bump.
Not the same. Not with the same with the Surface Duo.
Okay, all right, but then it had wick cameras compared to the Folds.
Yeah, I do understand. But yeah, fair enough. They've done stuff with the hinge, and they've done stuff with the hinge on the Flip 5 as well. So they have worked on that. I do grant you that. But yeah, I mean, most commentary was saying really that this is kind of a bit evolutionary. And let's talk about the Flip, they say. Forget about the Fold.
Fair enough.
Oh, and also the... Oh no, the water resistance is the same, isn't it? I was going to say they've upped the water resistance, but they haven't.
No, there isn't that much of a big change. It is the Fold is the one that got significant changes under the hood compared to the Flip. I'm looking at the two now on GSM Arena, and there's not much in it. They're practically the same size. They're the same weight. They've got most of the same specs. Like aside from something like the screen is brighter on the Flip 5 than the Flip 4. It's 1,750 nits as opposed to 1,200 nits. Yeah. But there's a faster processor that you would expect.
There's a 1 terabyte version.
Well, yeah, but who's going to buy that? They'll sell maybe 10 of those possibly around the world. Yeah. No, I don't think that the Flip was as impactful as it has been. The one difference with the Flip is that it is notably cheaper than the Fold.
Yeah.
But then it's got a lot less screens going on, and it's a lot smaller of a device. But at £1,000 for, I think that's just a standard model, it's still quite an expensive option for anyone who's out there. But I reckon it'll obviously be the big one that sells the most, and I think they're really pushing this as the device that they would normally do, say the S23, and then there was the S23 Plus and the S23 Ultra. They expect the S23 to be the one that's on all the deals, and people are picking up left, right, and centre. So I think the Flip 5 will really cover that, and this is going to be the big seller out of it all. Yeah. But to be honest, under the hood, there's not that much going on aside from a few tweaks on the outside and that screen.
Yeah, the outside screen, that's the big news. And the increase, of course, to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 from the 8 8 Plus Gen 1. Although some commentators I've noticed are saying that the battery efficiencies were actually better on the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 than they are appearing to be on the 8 Gen 2. So, take what you like from that. Again, a bit of an early takeout from my coming review on the Motorola is that I don't quite get this whole big outside screen on the flip phone, personally. I think that, in a sense, the Flip 4, with its less capable but peak style sliver of a window, is actually more in keeping with what I would use a flip phone for. I don't think people are going to spend hours on end on the outside screen, personally. It's small. Yeah. You need good eyesight to be able to see it, really, because as bigger as it is, it's still small, and it's so much better when it's open up and you can see much more of what you're doing. And the other thing that is one of my observations is that I think that what I would like is a smaller flip phone by anyone. So when you open the phone up, it's not so tall. Because when you open up the Flip 5 and the Flip 4 and the Motorola Razr Plus, they're just too tall. They're unwieldy tall, silly tall. And, they're unusable one-handed, for one thing. What I would like to see is a flip phone which is, a centimetre less tall when open. That would be my request, I think, to these giant companies.
Would you prefer them to just sort of expand the width, the girth of the phone at the expense of the height?
No.
Sort of just make it shorter and fatter instead of longer and taller?
No, they don't need to do that. You don't want to make it wider, particularly, although the Samsung is a bit less wide than the Motorola is. All I want is a bit like the Xperia phone, the Sony Xperia. I get what they're trying to do, but it's just too tall. I want a centimetre off the top, and then it would just be perfect.
That was a long train. Was that a cargo hauling across the west?
I didn't hear it. My window's shut. I'm surprised you heard it.
Oh, okay. Right. There might be a microphone lying outside your house.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, so there you go.
Right. But, well, we'll move on to the tabs.
Yeah.
Because there was a ton of tabs, and there seems to be quite a bit of excitement about these. They did what they didn't do last year, and the one that really annoyed me with the Tab S9, or the Tab S8. And I've purchased one of these. I purchased it myself.
A 9.
I have, yes, the S9, as opposed to the S9 Plus and the S9 Ultra, and my reasons are simple. I still have in the house the S6. My wife uses it and loves it. I loved that tablet as well. If you remember, it came in just the one size. Mm-hmm. It was I think it was a 10-inch screen. Mm-hmm. And I've sat down with it from time to time and compared it to the Lenovo P11 Plus that I've been using. I got rid of my Tab S8 Plus because I just felt it was a wee bit too unwieldy.
Right.
It was really big, and in the bookcase, the case had this huge piece of kind of metallic cover that would turn round, and it was just uncomfortable to use. It's a strange thing that you have to really sit with it, and I gave it a lot of months, and it never settled in, and I always regretted moving on from the S6. I think I had an S7 as well, and then the S8. But I regretted moving on from the S6. And to my mind, the S9 is the closest to the S6 because it's that wee bit smaller, but it's a wee bit larger than what the S6 is, because I still feel that the S6 is too small with its 10-inch. 11-inch, I think, is just a really cracker little area. 12 is a bit too big for just general consumption and taking with you as you go. But then whenever they did the S8, they did it with the LCD screen, as opposed to the better screen, the OLED screen or the AMOLED screen that was in the S8 Plus. I think that was to try and get people to move toward the S8 Plus instead of the S8. And I ended up buying the S8 Plus because I know you had the S8 and you thought the screen was unnoticeably fine.
Yeah, it's super.
But I wasn't prepared to take that gamble because I was paying the price at launch. So I bought that instead. Whereas here with the S9, all of the innards, save for the camera, are the same as the rest of the range. And I think that was the best move that Samsung made, because I would have been all over the S8 had it had the AMOLED display last year. But it didn't, and it was too big as the S8 Plus. This one, I think, is... well, it hasn't arrived yet. It's arriving tomorrow. I'm genuinely excited about Get Up, because I think the Lenovo is fine for most things. It's a bit underpowered. If I try to do stuff... God forbid I try to edit a video on it. Whoa, no, that's just not happening. It's fine for media streaming and storing your media on and doing the odd bit of this and that, and maybe playing an under-demanding game, whereas the Tab S9, I reckon, will just be all singing, all dancing, and that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, if I can get it out, will be an absolute powerhouse. Dead excited about this. And I think for most people that would be the best of the three. The Ultra looks ridiculous, but I can understand why people want that and need that in their lives, but I couldn't make it. I couldn't make an argument for it in this household. No way. Which one did you fancy the most?
The S9, but not because of the dynamic AMOLED screen, because I think that as you said earlier, the Tab S8 screen is just perfect. Every time I look at it, I never think that it's not an AMOLED. It's so well done. It's as usual with Samsung panels, that it's just superb, and the blacks look like they're AMOLED blacks. I can't see any reason not to. It's got the same 120 hertz refresh rate as well, same size, same everything, and there's no way that I'm going to be considering moving up anytime soon. I should be skipping out probably 2 years or 3 years with my tablet requirements. And the speakers are fantastic on the Tab S8. I think all of that will be kind of carried across. It's just the main difference really is this. I'll tell you what is different as well is the IP68. So my Tab has not got that. So if you're someone that is likely to take it out of the house and out and about and down the beach and chuck it into a vat of boiling acid, then you'll stand more chance with the Tab S9. So that, because that is a difference, they've done the environment proofing on it. So yeah, you'll be able to enjoy that.
Yeah, that's a bit of a nice addition. I can't say I've ever really wanted or needed that with a tablet, but it's going to be... It'll be reassuring to have that there. You know, if you're sitting out in the garden and you feel a spot of rain, the first thing you do is get your tablet in. Whereas you don't have to worry about that. You can get the kids in first. Or the dog.
Oh, I'll tell you, I've just noticed something else that I'd forgotten about, which is that my Tab S8 has got a side-mounted fingerprint scanner, capacitive fingerprint scanner, which works really, really well. With the new one, the Tab S9, they've put the fingerprint scanner under the display, but they haven't used their superior ultrasonic one. They've stuck an optical one in there. Now, I'm sure that Samsung will have got it right and they'll be fine with that, and the face unlock will be superb anyway. But even so, why not just put the ultrasonic in there? Maybe it's more expensive or whatever.
Well, the prices that they're charging for it, you wouldn't like to think that was some sort of consideration that they've brought in. And it's optical across the whole display. I hadn't realised that, but that's no biggie. I don't really tend to use that anyway.
The face unlock works really well.
The one big change between them, and I'm sure there's probably a reason why this is being given out, is the lack of the camera module on the S9 as opposed to the S9 Plus and the S9 Ultra, where they have the larger 8 megapixel ultra wide cameras on there too, which they didn't add into the S9. Which it's not like it's. I'm sure it's not that demanding of a space or not demanding of space inside the S9 that they had to leave it out. I'm just wondering if it is if that was one of the cost-cutting measures.
Yeah, it's marketing, isn't it? They've got to make some differentiation between the models, haven't they? Otherwise, people wouldn't buy them.
Well, yeah, but I don't think they've done that so much between the S9 and the S9 Ultra. I think people are going to run out and get the S9 Ultra and go, oh my goodness, this is far too big for me to put in my bag.
Yeah.
And then wish that they got the S9 Plus.
Yeah. It's a beast, isn't it? 14 point something inches, isn't it? Wow.
Yeah. But that's got to be for, artists and things like that. That required. I do like the look of the stylus as well on this one. It's got a good chunky stylus as opposed to the smaller one that was on the S6, and I can't remember what the one on the S8 was like.
The S8 one is quite fat. There's no silo for it, but there's not a silo on the S9, is there? It kind of sits in a slot on the back to charge. It's quite a fat. Let me grab it now. It's quite a fat.
Oh, the S9 goes either way round. It doesn't really matter which way you place it, whereas the S8 had to go a particular way round, didn't it?
What, the stylus on the back?
Yeah,
you've got to put it the right way round, with the nib pointing to the camera. I'm just taking it off now. It's. I think it's about the right size. I don't know how big the S9 one's going to be. Does it come with the device? I guess it does it?
It does, yeah.
I think that this one in my hand is just the right size. So I hope the Tab S9 one is not bigger, because that would be a bit of a shame. There is a risk that they can get too fat and chunky, isn't there?
Well, the S4, I remember, had a big chunky one. It was black, if I remember. I think you had the S4 as well. And I really liked that stylus. And when I moved to the S6, it moved to more of a phone-sized one. It was like a really thin little stick,
right?
That wasn't terribly comfortable for big hands to write with. So I'm glad that. But I don't remember what the S8's stylus looked like. I'll have to check.
It's got a flat side, so one side of it is flat with the side that goes on the charging on the back. So it's slightly not round, but it's hard.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to
no, it was comfortable.
It was hard to describe it really. Oh, hang on a minute, I'll get it out again. Mrs. It's about 7 inches long, 6 or 7 inches long, and if you measured it across the size, it would be about, I don't know, 4 or 5 millimeters. It's hard. You look at a picture of it online.
I am.
All right. But it's I
remember it now.
I think it's just right. I think it's just it feels, and also the flat side of it goes where your thumb goes, and that makes for a more comfortable hold. I think I like that stylus.
No, I do agree. Yeah, I did use it quite a bit. Now I think about it. But well, take a look and see what the S9's like. Hopefully, it's had some sort of a few changes done to it. Anyway, and anything else you want to add about the S9s?
No. I'm looking forward very much to your feedback to see what you're going to find with it. But it would be great to put it next to the S8 and look at the two screens and see if you can actually tell much difference. Because I would defy anyone to be able to do so. But anyway, we'll see. The battery, the battery on this one is 8,400 milliamp hours. What's the battery on the S8, the one that I've got? Tab S8. Excuse me. The battery is 8,000, so it's gone up a little bit, but not hugely. I do find that the Tab S8 battery is not the best in terms of standby. So if I put it next to me on the desk, and then forget and go to bed and it's still there, in the morning the battery could easily be drained, and I haven't really done anything with it. It likes to be charged regularly, the Tab S8. So again, it'll be interesting to see how that compares with the S9.
Yeah, maybe some power settings. I remember how lasting quite a long time. I used to charge my tablet once a week and just keep it in my bag for when I was going to work. Whereas with this Lenovo one, I think I have to charge it maybe closer to the end of the week as opposed to at the weekend.
Right. And leave it on in your bag, you mean? Or turn it off?
Yeah.
Leave it on?
No,
right.
leave it on. Yeah, just on standby.
Oh, right, okay. Well, yeah, I shall look forward to hearing about it. The other announcement this week has been about the S9 FE, which we've mentioned on the show before.
Oh, yeah.
Will they, won't they? And it seems like there's been some leak from this French Samsung website or something and they posted a picture of a listing, a Samsung listing, which clearly shows the Tab S9 FE and the Tab S9 FE Plus in the listings. So nobody seems to know much about it, but the previous FE fan edition devices from Samsung tend to be really, really well spec'd. I'm thinking of the S20 FE phone, which was really well spec'd. A mid-ranger in price, but actually hardly anything missing from the whole kind of lineup of features from more expensive models. So, it's a bit late for you to wait, but for someone who wants to save some money on this, how much was your S9 incidentally?
Oh, I because of Samsung sales, it was supposed to be $899,
right?
And then I wanted the bookcase with it as well, which is an extra £75, I think, for the bookcase,
right?
But then you could upgrade from the 128 with 8 gigabytes of RAM to the 256 with 12 gigabytes of RAM for free.
Okay.
And then they gave me £100 off, which took it down to $799 or $870 or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And then I found a code. I just thought I'll go around some of those voucher websites and just try a load of coupon codes to see if I could get some free stuff, like a free watch or something like that.
Yeah.
But then one of them took another £100 off it, and I was like, oh, right, okay. So I ended up getting for $699, and then the bookcase on top of it, which was $75, so it was $772 or whatever.
Okay.
Which is all good. I was happy with that. I still think it's quite a lot to pay for a tablet, but the way I'm looking at this one is that I'm going to try and make this one last me a good couple of years.
Yeah. Whereas the FE version might well be that price to start with, and then by the time you've done all that shenanigans you're talking about, the S9 FE you might be able to get down to like £500, and yet still really well specified. So we'll have to see. We don't know much about it yet, except that it's clearly coming.
Yes, and it could even be one of those sort of regionalised ones as well, where maybe they're not shipping the Tab S9 too, and they'll just do the F9 there, or the FE. But there's also news that Samsung are looking to reintroduce the Exynos processors into their range, so it could be that the FE is going to be a launch model for the Exynos.
Yeah, it could be.
Relaunch model.
There was talk about phones as well. There was talk about the S24 range offering the Exynos chipset in some regions, and typically those regions have been Europe. Whereas America will get the Snapdragon and the Far East will get the Snapdragon, but for some reason they have historically targeted Europe with the Exynos. I think it's a bad move. This S23 I've got here, which has got a Snapdragon chipset, the battery life is just stunning. It's so good. And a lot of that people are putting down to the chipset. And my previous experience with Samsung Galaxy phones with the Exynos chipset is nothing nearly as good. So, yeah, a lot of people will say that's a shame, but don't know. What do you think?
I think a lot of people probably wouldn't notice the difference. I do remember having the S10 Plus,
right,
and it had the Exynos inside it. And to be honest, I thought it was still a very speedy little device that lasted all day. I was more than happy with it. It actually took me quite a while to upgrade from that phone to the Pixel, because I didn't feel the need. It was working as I expected, and I think I had that phone for a full 2 years, and it was sold as the Exynos when it arrived. And for the larger majority of people who walk into car phone warehouse or whatever, they're not going to say, so I got the Exynos or the Qualcomm?
No, I do accept that. And I also accept that the S10 Plus had a bigger battery than the S10 that I had. But the S10 that I had, the battery was just diabolical. To me, it's not about performance, it's about battery. And the efficiencies of the Snapdragon just seem to be better than Exynos. And, I'm just kind of paranoid about battery size.
Well, it also might have to do with how well this range of tablets, phones, and watches go for Samsung, because they may, if everyone gets really excited, jumps on and decides to upgrade this year, because they might not have last year due to financial concerns. This year has more financial concerns than last year, so they might be looking at it going, well, next year we're going to have to try to up our profit margins and make some cuts. So we could just cut Qualcomm out of it altogether, and they would probably make more money per handset using Exynos inside it.
Yeah,
so that's one way that Samsung could cut some corners, and not cut some corners, but at least make a little bit of extra coin, because we know they need it.
Yeah, right. But yes, you're probably quite right. That probably is a primary driver for them. And all the research and development over the years that they put into Exynos, they can't just chuck it away and hope that the Tensor chip for Google is going to kind of justify the whole backlog of what they've done with it. So, yeah, very tricky for their shareholders.
Yeah. And the other thing that they could do is try and release some new bits of hardware that could suddenly become must-haves on everyone's fingers.
Uh-huh.
Would you be looking forward to a Galaxy Ring there, Ted? And I'm not doing the obvious guys. We'll save that for some other time.
Yeah. No, because I think mostly the Ring thing is to do with fitness and tracking and biometrics and making it better than a watch is. And I can see why that could be better than what a watch is. I'm not particularly interested in that. Well, my Galaxy Watch is, for me, I've turned all that stuff off. I just want it as a kind of watch and a notification thing and all the rest of it. With a Galaxy Ring, you're not going to get a screen, obviously. So anything it does, you're going to have to use the phone to do it with. It will suit some people, of course, when you go out running. If you don't want a smartwatch for anything other than fitness stuff, then the Ring will work really well, no doubt at all. And paying for stuff in Tesco, putting the Ring on the thingy, I'm sure that'll work well as well. But yeah, do you fancy one?
No, because I hate wearing a wedding ring as it stands. I'm not as thin as I was whenever I got married. The summers are warmer now, so your body swells a bit. So
nothing to do with the cream cakes,
nothing
then.
More than taking it off. Well, cream cakes don't help, but it's the weather at the moment. It really is warm.
Yeah.
And you have trouble taking it off. But, having to go out and resize a piece of tech because you've eaten a few too many cream cakes, that could be really quite bad. And it's telling you that you're unhealthy as well. I don't need that. No thanks.
I did see one render of the Galaxy Ring some months ago now. I think we might have spoken about it, where they you can resize it on the fly. Now, how did that work? It was some clever technology where the user could resize it.
It was made out of string.
Yeah, I can't remember now. I'm sure we covered it though.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that as well. I don't think it went the whole way round, or at least had little tiny hinges in it that moved ever so slightly, so that you can get it on and off when you swell. But that sort of thing is if you work in a garden, I was talking about doing the hedges earlier, it would be at the bottom of one of the bags because I'd forgotten to take it off. My dad lost 3 of his wedding rings over his life, not because he kept getting remarried or anything. He only married one woman, but he had to get his wedding ring replaced every time he went out to do the garden. He lost one. And so that would happen with these. I suppose it could have tracking. Oh, yeah. You could find it.
Yeah.
It could make noise.
Yeah.
Oh.
It will be part of the Samsung Smart Things locate my what's it.
Okay, all right. I'm getting on board. Yeah.
So you'll buy one if it's resizable and
you can
find it if you lose it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Bluetooth or Wi-Fi or whatever.
And it's less than £100 quid.
Yes, yeah, and it looks good too. Let's not beat around the bush there. It's got to look good, and it can't be. I can't have something like a big penny or something on it, like it's a one of those university rings. You know, they have in House of Cards has one. Kevin Spacey smashes one down on the desk a lot.
Yes, thank you. No, he's been cleared now.
He's still out smashing rings.
When I was a kid, I used to have this novelty threepence ring. It was a whacking great big thing. I thought it was great at the time.
Yeah? Threepence ring? Or did it have like a threepence?
Yeah, it was a threepence embedded in the front of it. It looked like...
that was back when the groats and things like that, and the doubloons.
The what?
The types of coins that you had back in the early 19th century?
No, this is 1960s. I just about remember before decimalisation. Well, no, I do remember it quite clearly, and I remember all the old coins. But anyway, yeah, my hand looked like, Del Boy or something. So it's full of bling at the time, but I rather enjoyed it.
No, it looks like Casey Neistat with your big Samsung Galaxy Watch.
Yes, and fat, chunky fingers.
Well, okay. Well, let's move on to a bit more worrying tech, which is the new announcement that who was it? Solid Jimmy, a company.
What? Not Samsung?
No,
I thought this was a Samsung show.
Solid. I'll let you pronounce that because you're good at that.
Solidime.
Solidime?
Yeah.
It's got a G in it.
Yeah, Solidime, yeah.
Solid Diggum. Anyway, that company is going to be releasing the highest capacity PCI Express SSD, which is going to be 61 terabytes. That's rounded up, I'm guessing. So it'll probably, whenever you plug it in, it'll probably only be about 43 terabytes, which you'll be most annoyed about. But yeah, they've unleashed this beast, and it's big. It looks like, I don't know. There's no other computer part that it kind of looks like. If you took a standard SSD and sellotape 3 of them together in not parallel, the other way,
or serial length,
in a queue to get into your computer, then that's what this would be with a sort of a case around the outside of it. It's an interesting step forward, I suppose. It's not going to be going out to you and I to buy quite so easily, and also it should be around $6,000 when it arrives too.
Good grief.
So you can actually get a couple of cars for less value than that. But would you have one of these sticking out of your computer?
Sticking out of?
Well, that's the only way it could be. I can't imagine it. If you were to put it into the M.2, I suppose it goes the other way, doesn't it? Across the motherboard.
Does it not just go into one of the slots? How do you attach it?
Well, it's PCI Express. Yeah, okay. So it would be sticking out of your computer, even more so than the way I was thinking about it. Yeah,
right.
That PCI Express goes into the side of the motherboard, and it would point out at a right angle from your desktop PC.
How ridiculous! I can't believe that is a finished product. Expecting people to do that, or I suppose you could have a whacking great big case for your computer. I've got a huge case for my computer. Perhaps it would go inside of that one.
No, it would stick out the side.
Would it?
Yeah,
how ridiculous!
Because if the graphics card is plugged into the PCI Express card slot, so it points out the same way as the graphics card. Although the graphics card goes long way, so it's the narrow way that the graphics card's going out. But this would be more designed for a rack or what are they called?
A server
case, thing.
yeah. But yeah, 61 terabytes would be great. You never want storage. Well, famous last words. You never want any more storage ever again. But you probably would in time.
I know. I've got a NAS sitting beside me that I've managed to get up to about 24 terabytes, and I'm going, I've only got 5 terabytes left. What am I going to do?
Oh yeah, you haven't told us all about your NAS yet. Is it working now?
Oh, it's wonderful. It's burbling away in the background because I've got it analysing my music collection currently.
Ah.
And it's great. I just love it. It's nothing to report about. I'm just gradually filling it.
Yeah.
It's a librarian's dream, Ted. You would adore it.
Yeah.
Getting everything set up and tagged and just sitting there nicely organised into nice collections and stuff. Oh,
yeah.
Wonderful.
Well, yeah, I do. We're on the same page there.
Although I couldn't handle your amount of porn that you're about to get.
Disgrace.
Yeah, it's terrible. Right, moving on. I spotted this. I think it was in a video on YouTube, actually. It was the Motion 1 announcement video. Ted, this is a chair. This is a chair for your computer, and it can also work with your Xbox. It can work with movies that you're watching as well. And the secret thing about it, whilst it does look like something that Dr. Evil or Eric Goldfinger would use to control the world of Blofeld, at the bottom of it, there is a thing that looks like that thing you used to put your foot in when you were at Clark's to measure the size of your feet. It's that, but the chair's stuck into it, and it moves the chair about. It vibrates it. It causes it to move at angles, and you get that, what is it they call the Cinema 4D type experience. The only thing it doesn't do is spray water at you or wind and things like that. Well, I suppose the wind comes out of you in another area. But it gives you that more immersion whenever you're playing a game. What do you think of this?
Where are the speakers? I can't see any vents for speakers anywhere. Presumably they're in the sides, are they? Or above the head?
Maybe. Or in behind the cushion or something like that. I'm not entirely sure.
Where do you put your feet?
On the floor?
I see. Well, if you're rolling around the floor on it, you've got to lift your feet up, haven't you?
No, but there's wheels on it so that you can move it around quite easily, because I imagine the apparatus at the bottom of this chair is quite heavy. Okay. So it would need wheels, as opposed to just legs, and you giving yourself crippling back pain every time you go to move it.
I wonder if my big arse would fit in the seat.
I don't know. It doesn't say anywhere what weight it takes.
Pre-order now. Right, let's see how much it is. Have you checked this out?
Oh, actually, I didn't do that. No.
Oh, we're going to a heavy wielding loading page. I think you better do this.
That's a point. This 5G router of yours is terrific. You can actually click on links.
Yeah, that's right. Pre-order now. Come on then. That's the second pre-order now link. Come on. Pre-order now. Numbers of $2,299.
I want one of those.
Yeah.
There's a jingle for that, isn't there?
It's got a lumbar support as well.
Yeah.
Very futuristic.
It looks ridiculous, but I imagine that there's gamers out there that are going to be all over this and really, really wanting something like this in their life. But the fact that it works with Netflix and you could sit and watch Jurassic Park and other movies, Ted, don't start filling the show notes with possibilities. No, Debbie Does Dallas is really old. It's not going to have this kind of stuff in it. But being able to sit and watch like the new Gran Turismo movie, and this thing is throwing you around the corners on your big ultra wide display. That's real immersion. It's dead exciting. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. I wait to see the first YouTuber sitting in one of these doing their short.
True. Well, there was another tablet that was released this couple of weeks since the last show, and I thought I'd mention it because it looks like it's taking things in a different direction. This is the Lume Pad 2, and it's got a 3D screen on it, as did the Lume Pad 1. And I'm just noticing that the price has dropped drastically from $1,099 to $649. So maybe that's in response to what Samsung have put out. But it's got a 3D camera on the back. It's got a 3D screen. It's got pristine 2D. It runs at 2560 by 1600 with a resolution at 120 hertz. It's got face tracking. It's got 3D AI by Leia, Leia, which means you don't need any glasses to look at it, and there's no gimmicks in the screen. It's a full, proper 3D screen. It connects to the largest 3D ecosystem, which is the Leia 3D apps, 3D chat, which sounds a bit scary, 3D games, real-time AI-based 3D conversation and creation. And the 3D camera means that you can produce your own media and watch it on the device. It's quite a powerful tablet as well. It's running Android 12. It's got a Snapdragon 888 processor inside of it with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of storage. Dolby Atmos is in there too. And it's got an SD card for expanding your memory as you see fit. The screen is IPS LCD, 16 million colors, multi-touch, 12.4 inches, 256 by 600 WQXGA, 16 by 10, and it uses DLB, diffractive light field backlighting. And then the landscape face tracking stereo 3D is in there as well. The 3D viewing angle is 86 degrees and the 2D viewing angle is 180 degrees, and it's got 244 pixels per inch. What do you think?
Your knowledge on this is almost encyclopedic.
It is, thank goodness I put that all in.
I'm trying to think what I would do with it. I mean, I could see how it might appeal to gamers or artists or something. So if you wanted to look at a famous sculpture or something, then it could, render itself in 3D sitting out of the screen. Or gamers, I guess. I can't imagine what I might use it for in my everyday kind of work and leisure flow. Can you?
Well, you could go out and take a nice video of your garden and then sit inside and look at it in 3D.
There's technology for the sake of it. No, I'm sure that it would appeal. It would be. Some people would find a productive use for it beyond the likes of us who would be sitting there going, "Wow, look at that" for 10 minutes, and then put it back in the drawer and get the Samsung out.
Well, say for example you were marketing a product or something, you'd be able, and you didn't have it built or whatever. You were going to Alan Sugar and saying, "I would like to produce these," and show him this. He'd be able to get a sort of 3D idea of whatever lovely vase you're looking to produce.
I guess business uses and artist uses, and some people would certainly find a use for it, beyond us just going, "Wow."
Well, there's one other thing that would have us going wow as well, but in all the other directions. This is the Wizman Green Powerbank. It's a retro display power bank that has MagSafe built into it, fast charging, a built-in cable, and multiple ports, lightning input or USB Type-C, depending on which way you swing these days. And there's a little LCD screen on the front that tells you all of the information that you need to know about it, but you can also play a few little retro games on there as well if you're feeling a bit bored. What do you think?
What is it?
It's a power bank.
Is that, or it's a games machine? Or
it's not really a game. It does have the novelty feature of being able to play a little game, and it looks a wee bit like a Walkman, I suppose.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
With a dial on the side, there's a switch button.
Yeah. I think that's what they've tried to do, isn't it? They've tried to make it. If you look at those drawings, the actual black and white line drawings, it looks just like a Walkman, and it's really cheap.
It is. It's £36. I think that's delivered as well.
Right.
I'm just double checking because I was quite close to actually ordering one earlier on today. If I click
what's the storage? Oh, 10,000. Right.
There's £9 of shipping because it's coming from Hong Kong.
Okay. It looks quite plasticky, but it looks like a lot of fun as well.
It does, yeah. And I from what I can see, Wizman appears to be a company that has done products in the past that they've gained rather good reviews. So this is just their latest product, and they're crowdfunding it over on Indiegogo.
It looks lovely. I'd like one of those for £36. Oh, it's got Qi charging power as well. You can, yeah.
That's right. That's the MagSafe stuff.
There's a lot going on here for 36 quid, isn't there? Blimey.
There is.
Well spotted.
I thought it was quite a funky design.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And it looks like it actually comes in different colours as well. There's black and then there's a white one too. All right, Ted, people have been listening to me too much, so we're going to ask you about the Google-backed startup that's going to set 2 world records in geothermal power.
The principle behind this, as I understand it, not being a energy engineer, is probably quite an obvious one on the face of it, which is that inside the Earth there is heat. Well, actually,
I've heard this rumour before.
At the moment, actually, there's also heat on the outside of the Earth, but that's another matter. But the point is that there's energy inside the Earth, untapped, and, you know, we've gone through the whole industrial industry, coal mining and digging stuff out of the Earth for that. But what this is about is drilling a well down to the middle of the Earth somewhere, no, not the middle, but some way down, in order to use the natural heat that is in, a bit like a geyser, I suppose, in Iceland, Reykjavik geysers, to actually get the heat from inside the Earth out of the Earth, and so effectively creating free energy. Of course, it won't be free to the consumer by the time all the investors and shareholders have put the infrastructure in place and want a return on their investment, but in theory, free energy from inside the Earth. I don't know much about it more than that, really, Gareth, except that it's you know, it's there, and Google apparently have put some money into helping this company to kind of look into it.
Tap into it.
Yeah.
Well, it's obviously one of those things that it's with Google pushing for these sorts of things. I know that they are very, very much into using renewables as much as possible, and cleaning up around themselves, so that, well, I wouldn't like to say that it's so that they don't get any scrutiny or people don't hassle them because of the way that they do things, in the way that you see maybe somewhere like Apple getting into trouble over their Foxconn contracts and things like that, and the conduct that happens out there. Google can sort of turn around and go, look, this is what we're doing. We're helping the environment, and we're investing in things like that to keep things going forward. And it keeps them, you know, kind of squeaky clean, if you like. But, you know, it's got to make money for them, and that's first and foremost.
And a bit worryingly, this article also says that they tried to do this in the 1970s, and they reckon that it was known to trigger earthquakes. Drilling a hole in the earth triggers more earthquakes.
Which, a bit like fracking and things.
Yeah, which would then play into Google's hands even more, because they could then sell more ideas about their earthquake alerts.
Right, okay. I see.
Anyway, yeah, so interesting to see how things are developing in terms of finding energy from places that traditionally we haven't had. Wind and sun. Sun has got to be the one, hasn't it? You remember that thing we talked about a while back about getting this great big sail and putting it between the Earth and the sun and collecting all the energy.
The solar farm in space.
Yeah. Come on.
Or right on the sea.
Come on, get on with it.
Quite right. Okay, we're going back to something that was discussed quite some time ago, but Oppo was implicated in not paying for one of the patents that they infringed on Nokia, and Nokia may now force Oppo out of the UK market after winning a significant case against the patent infringement. Am I right about that?
The thing is that Oppo are one by one, it seems, particularly in the EU, being banned from every country because of this kind of whole fallout with Nokia, and as you say, infringement of their copyright that Nokia hold on stuff. Interestingly, this links in also to the next story, which is about Oppo being the largest smartphone maker now in China. That also means that Oppo worldwide is the biggest, has got 10% of the smartphone market, according to this article. So the two stories kind of sit together in a sense, because you think, well, what are Oppo up to? They're giving the V's up to Nokia, and just saying, well, if you don't want to let us sell our stuff in Europe and in the UK, then fine, we'll just sell it in China. We're doing really well in China, beyond what anyone ever thought. They thought it would be Huawei and they thought it would be Xiaomi, but no, it's not. It's us. It's Oppo. So the BBK group are up there, and watch out, because we don't care. We sell so much stuff in China. We don't need to worry about you lot. So I think that Oppo have kind of grown in their reach, certainly in the Far East, and I just don't think they care. They're not trying very hard to be able to sell stuff. In fact, in France, they didn't even challenge it, did they? The French just said, out you go, and they just said, oh, all right then, we'll pack our bags.
Crazy. And it is a bit worrying, because I do like Oppo quite a bit, and I think they make some rather excellent
hardware
products. Yeah. Just as a side note, Ted, our new backup recording method has just closed out on me for some reason.
Oh my word! We
don't know why.
We just started using this thing called a Molto call recorder, which is supposed to record Skype and Teams and any other kind of audio recording you want to do. Mine is still running, Gareth. It hasn't stopped at all, so you'll need to look into why yours has stopped. But the up to now, it seems to have been all right this end.
And I might have to reinstall it after a hard reset or a reboot.
Right.
We'll look into that later. We won't worry our listeners.
No. They've got enough worry with Oppo.
They do, yes. What were we talking about? Yes. It's a bit sad. I wouldn't like Oppo to disappear from our waters just yet, but at the same time, they have to perform within the law.
Yeah. Or not.
OnePlus has a new leak that shows off a major design change. What are we looking at here? This is a folding phone.
Yeah, this is the Open, the OnePlus Open, the much talked about OnePlus Open, which no one really knows anything about firmly, except that we get occasional renders kind of put out there, and people that are claiming that they've got reliable leaks and blah blah blah. And the latest one has got this whacking great big. Well, it's got a hinge that is just really odd. And it kind of appears to open flat, but also has the ability not to open flat, but sit in a laptop. And also it's got this even bigger looking, great big circular camera thing on the back. So there's no way of it kind of folding back on itself in any sense. Right? Although I think that from the renders, that might be what they're hoping to do, is to make the hinge so that it kind of goes back the way as well. I don't know. It's all speculation, but that the circular camera glass thing looks like a dome. It looks like it's convex. Yeah, and the previous renders had that being flat, like the like the 11 and the 12 models from the phones. But this one now looks like it's a dome. Very
bulbous.
Yeah, very interesting.
One thing I do like about it is the texture that they're using on the back. It's got that. It's sort of a faux leathery type texture, which will give you a rather nice grippy panel
right
under the camera. If you zoom in and have a look at it, you can see it's I can't remember what they call it, but it's like a leathery snake skinny type thing.
Vegan leather, no doubt.
Could well be, but yeah, I think this looks really nice. And I especially like that big camera on the back. That's really impactful. It's got a huge H on it for Hasselblad. And it even, in one of the renders, it shows Hasselblad, and the other render, it doesn't show Hasselblad, which is a bit concerning.
I do like the look of it. And it looks like...
Or there's two devices here, is there not?
It looks like it opens flat as well. Are there two?
Yeah, there's a smaller one. A larger and a smaller.
Oh, is there?
Okay. One's kind of like the Oppo N. Find N2.
Yeah.
And then the other one is more like the Fold.
Oh, right, okay. So one of them folds back on itself and one of them folds in on itself. Is that right? Oh,
no, I think they're just both open, like a fold device.
So why does that hinge look like it's forming a space for the camera bump then? I don't get that bit. You see from the heading of this article in GSM Arena, the first image down where the two phones are next to each other, on the right-hand one where the big bulbous kind of convex thing is, right next to that there's a hinge that makes it look as though that bit folds back on itself. See what I mean?
I think that's just because it's two devices, one sitting the other way round.
Oh, okay.
Slightly in front of the other, like the one on the left.
I'm just stupid.
No.
No. We won't have that.
Not stupid. Moronic.
Anyway, I agree with you. I think this looks really nice. And, very Oppo N2-ish, which is probably not surprising because they're all part of the same group.
Probably, yes. All right, well, moving into... Well, we've got a couple of... Well, no, we've got one in the name of the game, in the games section, and that's Google Play Games for the PC. It's getting a bit of an update. Ted, have you been using this? I still can't get it to run.
I forgot all about it, to be honest. I thought that we had it running, and I installed it. I'm sure I installed it, and you showed me that it was running, because I didn't know about it.
Yeah, I did. I opened the beta once before, and it said needs virtualization or something like that. Yeah, to run Google Play Games, you need to turn on hardware virtualization.
Yes, and I did that.
And I left that up. That's where I got up to.
I did that.
What happened after
I don't know, because I forgot all about it. I kind of leave gaming to you on the show. I test things out to see them work and then forget all about them.
I have absolutely no desire to play mobile games on my desktop. That's not what it's for.
Well, forget it then. Let's move on.
Okay. Thanks, Google, but no thanks. Flap your trap about an app. I figured this headline would pretty much arrive as soon as they announced it was going to happen. Threads has reportedly lost half of its active users. According to Mark Zuckerberg, Thread earned 10 million users within 7 hours of going live this month. And by my maths, that means it would have lost around about 5 million users.
Can I just, before you go on, can I just say that because we're fortnightly now, this was an early report, and this is from the 22nd of July, so this may have needed updating or whatever. But yeah, do carry on.
Okay, but that's really about it. The active users count has dropped from around half, from 49 million to 24 million in the space of a week. So I think people went in just out of curiosity, had a snoop around, and then went out and shut down their account. Which isn't the big mass Twitter exodus that I think he was hoping for.
And then went back to X.
Yes, which we'll be coming to in a moment.
I didn't try Threads because I don't want to give my data to Facebook, but a huge amount of people clearly got on board with this, and Zuckerberg must have been thinking to himself, rubbing his hands with glee, and then suddenly everyone is just not using it. It makes you wonder where that data comes from, doesn't it? Trusting Facebook or Meta to be honest about that data, because presumably they'll be the only ones that actually know the truth about it. I don't know. Maybe not. Perhaps there's other ways that other organisations can test that data.
I'm sure as soon as these things come along, there's measurement tools that get designed to be able to poke in and find out. There's got to be ways that people can read it from the code that's on the website. Because there's where you've got Twitter, you've got those other companies that kind of did all your Twitter metrics and things. I remember there was Buffer and Tweet Map and stuff like that, and they'd be able to pull information out of Twitter as to where all your followers were predominantly from and things like that. So, where they sell you that targeted information, they can just provide huge amounts of information about the whole operation. So I'd like to think that Threads has something similar in there that people can tap into and just pull all this information out. It doesn't have to come from Mark Zuckerberg, because I imagine if it was from Zuckerberg, then that 49 million was probably actually, quite a considerable amount less, and then the 24 million was a considerable amount more.
There's also this other story bouncing around, which I've not linked to in the notes there, which was on Engadget. I'll tell you what, I'll put a link in the show notes to it. Copy, link address, standby, all on the fly. There you go. There it is. Whereby they were saying in this article that that Meta are also on board with the ActivityPub stuff still, and investing in decentralized stuff like Mastodon is. And actually, going into a different direction as well about using the Fediverse like Mastodon, and there's all sorts of kind of stuff going on with social media at the moment where people seem to be trying out this, that, and the other, and maybe not getting very far. What are you doing there? It sounds like you're grinding your teeth.
No, it's raining.
Oh, is it?
it's absolutely chucking it down.
Oh, nice. Anyway, I put
the
link in the show notes to that other article from Engadget, so that our dear listeners can have a first idea of what I'm talking about.
Well, you do that.
I will.
And in the meantime, I don't know if anyone's ever noticed, but Elon Musk is attempting to rebrand Twitter to X.
That sounds lovely, Rain. I wish we had that.
I'm sure you will have it in about an hour.
Excellent.
It's without much of a build-up to it. He just suddenly changed it overnight to an X, as opposed to having the Twitter logo and the Twitter branding. It still says Twitter, and it's called Twitter on your phone, I believe. But he's trying to kill off that bird logo and just have X instead, which I believe Elon Musk tried to launch a company called X years ago, which was something to do with a credit card,
right,
or something, before he jumped onto PayPal. But I think this actually really annoyed me, that he's so happy just to jump on and mess around with a social network that people actually use for a living. There are people who survive off of Twitter and off of Facebook to be able to promote their businesses and things like that. And he can just walk along and tear up and mess around with a social network that he didn't build. He just walked in with enough money and bought it and just is making a complete mess of it. I'm getting really pissed off with the nonsense between these two dickheads on these social networks, because people do rely on them greatly. And if you're not getting what you were getting before, where local businesses were able to advertise their wares to you of something that was happening around the corner, because this moron decides to tinker around with stuff under the hood whenever he's got no real experience of doing it, and gets rid of half the staff who were experienced at doing it, it doesn't bode well for mankind. And whilst Twitter and Facebook could have been something quite sinister in the past, they were still able to help support people who were putting out and were prepared to do the work at promoting their own businesses. And now all of a sudden it's been torn up and done away with, and isn't a reliable platform for them to be able to continue with their business.
The power of having money.
Yeah, and don't start me on this boxing match. I want to replace their arms with chainsaws so they cut each other to pieces. I'm sick of the two of them. Really am.
What's he got to do with PayPal? I don't know. He doesn't own PayPal, does he?
No, but he was. I think that's where he made most of his money, was from
really?
PayPal. And I'm sure he would have had something to say if some megalomaniac walked in whenever he was making all his money out of PayPal, and started tearing it up and changing everything that he does. No, I can't quite remember what it was he did with PayPal, but he was attached to PayPal for a number of years.
Right, okay.
And made his billions, or added to his billions there.
Right.
But yeah, I still do quite like enjoy checking out Twitter, and I hope that he doesn't totally wreck it. But I'm not seeing the stuff that I used to see on Twitter, and that irks me.
Yeah, I do. I understand what you're saying about people that have got businesses to run, and that's how they do it, and that's how they have done it, and then suddenly they've got to start again, or think again, or do something else. I do get that. As a casual user, if you like, I don't give a flying fart. In actual fact, this week I've been I started to use Mastodon a bit more again, and started to post some things in there. If I could do it like you do, automatically somehow, from WordPress or something, it'd be an awful lot easier than having to do it all manually. But that's another matter. Because while I was there, I did see that you are posting stuff there as well. But I figure that it's being done automatically, isn't it?
I think so. I can't quite remember. It's been 2 weeks since I posted anything. Pretty much, yeah.
Anyway, we'll see how the X... Did you see the story about the sign he had to take down on the roof? This great big lit-up white X on the roof of headquarters, and all the people around the place were complaining about it, and he ended up having to take it down.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to read that. That sounds more like him getting a bit of humble pie. All right. Well, moving on. You've been testing out the Arc browser. Have you been invited to it? I heard you mention something about an email earlier on.
You can't get in on it with Windows. You can only get in on it with Mac at the moment. So I filled in the form that invites Windows users to be first to get it when it comes. And consequently, I don't really know that much about it. Linked here in a Lifehacker article is... someone that's got their hands on it. If anyone listening to this has got a Mac, maybe you can try it and let us know what it's like and how it works. It looks very sleek. It looks very good. Apparently, all the Chrome-based plugins still work with it. So it's based on the Chromium engine, and it works in the same way. So all the Chrome extensions will work with it still, but they've just made it look really pretty. They've spent a lot of time on stylizing it and making it look, well, almost Material You, really. And the way in which the tabs work and the layout works, very magazine-like, very Apple-like, actually, which is probably not surprising why it started in Apple world with Mac devices. But
hang on a second, I need to close this down. It's starting to come in. That's really heavy.
Oh dear. You could... Well done.
Sorry.
No. I just, while you were talking just then, I looked up the weather forecast for here. No sign of rain the rest of the day here. So wherever it goes from you, it's not coming this way.
I suppose we do have a yellow alert actually here for this storm that's coming in. Storm Marthas, or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so yes, it looks very pretty. It looks very well thought out. It looks really nice. And because it's based on Chrome and it'll work just like Chrome does, it might be worth a look, I think, when it arrives on Windows. As I say, any Mac users, give it a go. Let us know how it works. I do like the layout. It's very modern. It's actually very much like what Google is trying to do with some of their folding device and tablet apps by putting menu systems on the left-hand side in a column. So if you're using a tablet, for example, your thumb will be across to that side and not across the top, which traditionally browsers tend to do. Just looks really interesting. Do you think?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I signed up for this ages ago. It might even be about a year ago whenever I first heard about it. But it looks like you wanted a tablet to look like since they first came along.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's that kind of clean and neat interface. But what they show you, what you see in those screenshots, notice that there's absolutely no adverts.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that being the way for too long. I did notice that you are required to have an account to sign in, so it's not that private. The company does not have a business plan, but states they do not track information, which is a bit weird. And it's a couple of ex-Facebook employees who are setting it up. So I don't know that I'm going to get bowled over by it until it becomes something that people have been using for quite some time and are sure that it is as private as it hopes to be.
Indeed. Well, there you go then. Something new anyway, something interesting and different for us to have a look at. Be interesting to see how long it takes. If you signed up a year ago, then there probably isn't much hope of anything happening quickly with my little sign up this week.
Well, you never know. They might have just dumped mine, or I might have missed an email. And that's what I thought whenever this came back into it and someone posted it on MeWe. I was thinking, oh, blimey, which email address did I use? Because this was yonky donkeys ago.
Right.
Well, that said, it was probably like 4 months ago, but that's about a year, isn't it? Yeah. All right, moving into Google Gallows and the Chrome Coroner. Ted, do tell us what's new and happening with Chrome.
Microsoft 365 is going to be integrated, or is integrated. I don't think it is yet, actually. I think it's in builds, developer builds in Canary, in Chrome OS. And the big thing here is that for those that are kind of hooked into Microsoft 365 and OneDrive and stuff, they're going to hook you'll be able to hook that into the Files application in Chromebooks in the same way as you can at the moment with Google Drive, obviously, but also Dropbox. Mind you, didn't they? I think they took Dropbox away, didn't they? But anyway, various cloud storage services which will work inside the Files app, and so writing back out to Microsoft documents that you've got held in the cloud or even locally, I think, will on the fly be able to kind of update each other. So they're getting in bed. Google are getting in bed with Microsoft because they recognise that actually so many people are using Microsoft products that they ought to be in on it in the same way as they do with Samsung in some of their products as well.
And given how poorly that Microsoft 365 is actually embedded in Windows 11, it'll actually help Google, because Google Docs and Sheets and all that is really nicely embedded in Android.
Yeah, absolutely.
And on a Chromebook.
So there's that. There's also the fact that Google Play Store is going to be redesigned, or is being redesigned. A bit like what we were just talking about in terms of the Arc browser. Looks very similar with menus down the side. And there are changes to the way in which it's going to organise the order of stuff for people looking at the Play Store that are accessing it from tablets or foldable devices. With our kind of week of tablets coming up, this might be quite interesting to see if it has actually rolled out or does roll out. Emphasising top of lists. It should detect if you're looking at it from whatever kind of device, and it will then push up the Play Store applications that it thinks will work better with the Play Store, including special offers and blah 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 blah. Just making it detect and prioritize whatever device you're using to access it with.
Yeah.
And lastly, I've got link previews. This looks quite interesting. Google Chrome apparently should soon get link previews. And if you look at the article here, there's a picture of... No, there isn't. I thought there was. There was what they're talking about is that when you are browsing in Chrome, if you hover over a link, not only will it give you the little kind of, the finger icon thingy, and down the bottom left-hand corner an identification of where that link goes, but it will pop up a window and it will actually give you a preview of what to expect if you click the link, which has obvious implications for safety and security, and not going and clicking on links that you're not sure about. And that looks really interesting. It's not anywhere out yet, but I can't remember where I saw. There was a GIF. I think I posted it into the MeWe group. There's a GIF of showing you how it worked. If I find that, I'll try and link to it in the notes somewhere.
There's a tweet in that article.
Okay.
And it's part of that.
Oh, yes, that's it.
Leo Piva 64.
That's it. So if you run that tweet, you can see an example of how it works. Yeah, got it. Thank you, Gareth.
That's a really nice failsafe.
Yeah.
Failsafe?
Yeah. Well, it's certainly a security implication. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know that you're not clicking on, whenever you're clicking on those Viagra ads, you know whether or not you're getting them or not.
So let us know, anyone who sees that coming at any point, particularly if you're in developer builds of Chrome or Chrome OS.
Cool. That's very nice. Liking those. Good stuff this week. Well done.
Thank you.
All right. Going into Harkback, which is getting increasingly more difficult to do. Aside from us actually sitting down with an actual old device and talking about that old device specifically, trying to do something to break that up by bringing back something that you probably haven't thought of in a few years, is proving quite difficult. I know, Ted, you found it quite difficult to do in the past too. Yeah. Well, I came up with one this fortnight. And that is your good old-fashioned vintage long chime doorbells.
Yay!
Ding dong. Those don't really exist anymore. People have really embraced newer digital solutions, whether it be a wireless connection between just a typical button and a buzzer inside the house that plugs into the plug and plays some obnoxiously horrible tune. At the moment we have Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, and it sounds awful on a harpsichord or something like that, or a xylophone. Or you have the more technical aspects of the Ring doorbells, or other models are out there as well, of video doorbells, to be able to see what's happening outside your house and who's calling on you at all hours of the morning. But before we got those sorts of things, we had to rely on these, and I remember having a set of these in I think my grandmother's house had one. My parents didn't have one. They had one of the square ones that had like I think it was like a coil inside, and the hammer would chime the coil, a bit like a clock, I suppose, and it would make two different tones that way. But these had long copper or brass tubes that hung down, and then there would be a little hammer inside that would hit the tune, or hit the copper the copper pipe, and that would create a chime, a note, and you would get the ding dong from that.
Ding, dong.
And sometimes you would have 3 tubes. That meant that you would have 3 tones that came out of it, and people would go, "Oh, who's at the door?"
Yeah.
And when I moved into my house, there was one on the wall. I don't know what happened to it. I actually quite liked it, but it wasn't hooked up at the time. And I think one of the builders that was doing the carpets or painting and things before I moved in, he might have decided to pilfer it, and I think there were copper pipes on it, so maybe got rid of the copper or something like that. I don't know. It just suddenly disappeared overnight, and I went looking for it. It wasn't there. But yeah, I always remember these as a kid, and you could walk past it, and if you rapped it ever so slightly with your knuckle, you could hear it go boom, or you could tap them so that they would swing together. Sometimes they would fall because they were held in just by a small pin or whatever, so that they weren't actually harnessed to anything so that they would make as much noise as possible. But yeah, they were really fun little a thing of the past that we just don't see terribly often anymore. And I've linked to a website called Retro Renovation, where there's well, actually the article's from 2014, but and Retro Renovation stopped publishing in 2021. But there is Electrochime, where there's a fella who manufactures these, and you can buy them today and put them back into your hallway and be summoned to the door by, I don't know, whether it be the Amazon delivery man or Jehovah's Witness or something like that, in the way that they used to back in the 70s and 80s. Ted, did you ever have a set of these?
I didn't personally, but certainly my grandparents did, I think. I think my grandmother had something similar. They look very 1960s, 1970s, don't they? The whole kind of design. It's interesting that this bloke or this little firm or home company or whatever it is still doing this stuff. It's in America. I've clicked through to the Metro Walnut one to see about buying it. Presumably it's kind of made to order, and it's $315. You can choose how many bells you've got on it. So if you choose 3 bells, it's $315. If you choose 2 bells, it's $290. And if you choose brass, it's more than. No, sorry. If you choose nickel-plated brass, then it costs more again. But yeah, clearly an American thing. I'm sure they'll ship it worldwide. Oh yeah, they do. I just checked. And yeah, great memories. You're right. It's nostalgia all round for most of us. Probably, well, not most of us, but those of us that are old enough to remember. It seems very Margot Ledbetter to me somehow. You know, The Good Life in 1970.
Oh, right. Thank you for filling that in. It was like,
yeah. Margot and Jerry. I could just see this in their house in Surbiton, doing the business in the early 70s. But yeah, and one of them appears to have a clock in it. I don't remember ever seeing that. Presumably
a what?
A clock.
I
don't see. I don't remember ever seeing one with a clock in it, and the clock is kind of. I can't see that that's anything to do with it. It's just a doorbell, isn't it?
They're compatible with internet-connected video doorbells as well.
Really?
Apparently so, yeah. It says at the bottom of the page there's height, width, depth, electrical, origin, and compatible internet-connected video doorbells.
Oh wow! So you might not need to wire it in at all.
No, it might be able to take a. I don't know how that would work.
No.
Interesting. Okay, well, you can order some and let us know.
Yes, indeed. Very interesting indeed, and a good bit of nostalgia.
One thing that I noticed, there was I can't remember where it was. It was a YouTube video, actually, and someone had asked, it must have been a Reddit thread, I come to think of it, someone had asked why there was a hole in the wall, the shape of the hole in the wall, and it looked like there was a cutout for a window with a rounded top in the wall, and it was only about an inch or 2 inches deep. It was just this shape in the wall, and the person was saying, what is this for? But apparently it was for a set of these chimes, where you can recess it into the wall and it becomes a sound chamber to make it louder. If you've got a bigger house, you recess it in. I thought that was kind of a funky little idea. Might start chiseling away at the brickwork of my house and get a set of these and stick them in.
Actually, that website that you found, Retro Renovation, is quite. I'm just having a look through it now. There's all sorts of interesting retro stuff in there that we could bring to future shows, no doubt. You know, all sorts of stuff from radio. A lot of it's obviously American based, but there's some really interesting stuff in there. I've not found that site before when we've been scouring the web to try and bring something to hark back.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So,
So coming in the shows ahead, we can expect retro fridges,
Yes.
retro metal edge counters.
when we completely run out of ideas.
All right. Well, we haven't run out of ideas when it comes to the bargain basement because it appears to be full this week with some fun stuff. I'll start us off with the Anker 622 magnetic power bank. This is a Mag-Go pop socket type thing, which has a 5,000 milliamp hour magnetic external battery inside of it. It's got a pro grip on the back so that you can attach it to stuff, and then obviously using the Mag grip, it keeps your phone supported as well. It's reduced in price from £30 down to £25.49. It looks like a really good addition for an iPhone if you need power on the go, and that wee grippy thing at the back means that it'll be simple to just attach it to the dashboard of your car, or you can even use it as a stand when you're using it on a desk. It's pretty cool. Nice solution.
Yeah, 25 quid. Very nice indeed. Right, going back to the first story in the show, which was about you buying a tablet. There's a big page of all sorts of bundles on Amazon. I think probably similar to the deal you got, where you can buy 512 gigabyte versions of the Flip 5 and the Fold and whatever else, the Tab S9, and then you get an upgrade of the memory. The one example I picked up on was the Z Flip 5, 512 gigabyte, plus bundled with a Watch 6. That's the 40mm watch. That's the smaller one that you were talking about earlier that suits the smaller wrist. So the proper product price is 1,400 and something quid, and then it's reduced to 1,204. Then there's £100 voucher. So if you're in for a Flip 5 with a watch as well, you can save quite a lot of money. £1,104 that ends up at. Plus you get a £50 Google Play Store voucher. So yeah, more bundles with all that kind of Samsung stuff. As you were indicating earlier, these Samsung release devices, they never seem to sell anywhere at RRP, do they? There's always some sort of deal or bundle going on wherever you tend to go.
Absolutely, yeah. And actually, looking at this listing, you've just reminded me of another reason why the tablet was a good deal at $699. You get a year's free Disney Plus with that as well, which is something that I've been considering taking it out again because my son says he hasn't finished watching The Simpsons yet. Right, okay. Which is what that works out about 100 and something pounds. So getting that included too does actually really help justify having these. And you can use them on the tablet.
Talking of that, just as an aside for a moment, this week, Mum and Dad wanted to watch Hijack, which we were watching for Projector Room, and I signed up to an Apple 1 month, 7-day trial for them to do it. Which was going to be costing nothing. But anyway, in the process, I went to the MeWe group and they told me, check your EE contract. So I went up and checked my EE contract, and sure enough, in the back pages of the app on my phone for my EE, there's 6 months Apple TV included. All you've got to do is tap on this button and say, accept, and then you've got to sign. You need an Apple device to sign into your account, and so I had to do it in my name and not their names, but my mum and dad's names. But even so, I found a way around it, and I've installed it on their Roku box on their television, and it seems to work fine as well as on mine. So between us all, we've got 6 months of Apple TV on the back of my already existing EE contract. So if you've got one of those people, check it out.
Excellent. Good news. It's always nice to find a little surprise like that. All right. Something that we've featured a few times on here, the Crucial X8. This is the 2 terabyte portable SSD. And we have talked about this and other models from Crucial that do the same job, essentially. But this is a really nice looking drive that you take with you that has up to 1050 megabytes per second transfer speeds, and it connects via USB 3.2 to a PC or a Mac. But it's been dropped in price from, get this, Ted, £203.99 down to £90.98. That's a saving of 55%.
That's amazing. What a drop that is.
That's actually quite a tempting thing. If you happen to have a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox, well, I don't know about the Xbox, don't quote me on that, but the PlayStation 5, I'm actually quite tempted to pick up one of these 2 terabyte ones and attach it to the back of my PlayStation 5 because it's unpowered, and then you can just copy all your PlayStation 4 games across to it and free up some space on the PlayStation 5.
And the 4 terabyte one as well is not disproportionately more. It's almost like double the price, which is really good. 195 quid.
But there isn't actually any saving off that at all.
No, you get the same. No. But I see what you mean. Right? Okay. The one.
But yes, the 2 terabyte would have been more expensive than the 4 terabyte one at the original price.
Yeah. 1 terabyte one also has got 50% off, and that's 56 quid as well. Yeah. As always, storage coming down in price. Oh, look, £11.20 a month on that. No interest. Amazon, I'm been offered terms.
Oh, no, I'm not getting that.
Oh, on the 2 terabyte.
They don't like me at the moment.
No. On the 2 terabyte one, they're offering 5 months at £18.20, the original item to me. Anyway, yeah, really good that is.
Yeah.
The Roku Streamer, the Roku Stream Bar, which never comes down in price, hardly ever at all. Now, this was from a third-party seller. I'll just check to see if it's still for sale. Yes, it is. 78 quid. It floated around the 99 quid point for quite a long time. It started off at 130. When I bought mine, I think I got it for 99, but it's now 78, so even cheaper. But yeah, beware, it's coming from a third-party seller. Yeah, and I can completely vouch for this. It's so good. Ever since I got it, I use nothing else with my television. It's just really, really good. Your son got one, didn't he?
My daughter actually, yeah. I bought it for Christmas when it first came out. But I went to use it the other day because my son actually wanted to use it. And I found a problem. I wasn't able to access Google Play Movies or cast from his tablet to it.
For Google Play Movies?
Well, yeah, I wasn't able to watch any content from Google Play Movies. Some movies that I had, he wanted to watch Jurassic Park.
No, but what I mean is, was it just Google Play Movies that you couldn't cast?
Yes.
Okay, right, I'll check that, because I don't use that route to watch Google Play Movies, but I will now check it and see if mine does the same. Good call.
Because I'm going to have to go and get a Chromecast and take it up and plug it into that TV.
I thought you were going to say...
so that he can...
I thought you were going to say a crowbar.
Yeah, open it up, teach it some...
Yeah, that's no good. It should just work. And it does with my phone and with my other devices. I can stream stuff to it, no problem at all. But I haven't tried Google Play Movies.
Right, okay. I'll try again with my devices. It was just his tablet I was using, which is the Nokia T20. But I figured it was going to work.
Right. There was a previous problem with the Nokia, wasn't it? It didn't support something. But then, if it previously did, then it's not relevant.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll try. Have to play. Next up is a monitor from MSI, and this is the MSI Pro MP273, which is a 27-inch monitor, full HD, 1920 by 1080, 75 hertz, IPS display, 5 millisecond response time, so it's a bit slow. HDMI display port, speakers, anti-glare, anti-flicker, less blue light, TUV certified. That's not trade union certified. It's TU with an umlaut over the U. Whatever that happens to be. VESA connection on the back, Kensington, and it comes in black. And it's reduced in price from £139 down to £99. That's a saving of 29%. That's a really nice second monitor for you to have your Outlook going on, or even if you were to vertically mount it and have it to the side there, I think that would be a really cool second screen. Ted?
Yeah, definitely. And nice little reduction in price. Presumably it's flat. Yeah, it will be, won't it? But it's quite wide, so it'll do the job. Yeah, definitely. And good price. Yes, indeed.
Do the job.
Indeed, yes. My last one,
and finally,
is the TicWatch. I'm all watched up at the moment. The TicWatch Pro 5, which seems to be well reviewed. And I was looking at the specification of it compared to the Samsung Galaxy Watch, and it does look really, really well done. There's a special launch price going on Amazon UK, which gives you 50 quid off. It should be $330, and it's $280. And it looks like at first I thought it had a rotating bezel. On the picture on Amazon, it looks like it has, but I don't think it has actually. I think that's just a knurled kind of accent around the screen. Someone in the group swears by TicWatch. They say that it's the best smartwatch there is. Have you got any experience with them?
I had the 3 Ultra for a while, the TicWatch Pro 3 Ultra, and I loved it very, very much. I just kept banging it off things, and I figured it's going to get wrecked if it stays on my wrist. I had to get rid of it. Well, I don't know. It should be about somewhere, actually, come to think of it. Yeah.
Right. It uses Wear OS as well, and it does all the stuff that you'd expect it to do. 80-hour battery life. Well, yeah, I guess that depends on what you're doing with it. If you've got the screen always on, it's not going to be 80 hours, I bet. But nobody that I know is likely to leave, except my mother, is likely to leave a watch always on display, always on. She's got a Pixel watch, and she leaves the display on all the time. I said, "Are you sure you want to do that?" "Oh yeah, it's fine. The battery always lasts till bedtime."
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, 80 hours for that one. Lastly, I wanted to just give a quick shout out for Irfan Ali, friend of our various podcasts, particularly Projector Room, who is selling his Soundcore Space Q45 headphones, and he's just reduced the price to 75 quid. Check out the links in the show notes to the MeWe group, the classifieds if you're interested in that. He sent them over to me. I've got them here, so I can send them out to the buyer here. I did a quick a short review on them, and I'll link to that in the show notes as well. They're in perfect condition, and the new price, the RRP, is still 150 quid. You often get them for 99 or whatever, but 75 for a perfect pair, boxed, really good. And they sound great. Anyway, check out my review and have a read of what I thought of them. They're not up there with Sony, but then you wouldn't expect them to be because they're not that kind of price. They're good, cheap, Soundcore anchor stuff as we've come to expect.
Yeah, the type that blows your socks off. Yeah.
Indeed.
Good headphones. All right, well, that about brings us to the end. If you want to get in touch with us, you can by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk, and there's Tech Addicts UK on YouTube as well. I'm on YouTube as well, at Gareth Miles, GaretHMYLES. Sorry, happened again. I forgot how to spell my own name. I'm on Mastodon too. There's links in the show notes as to how to find that. And you can find my GarethMiles.com by spelling my name correctly in the Google search bar or URL bar, whatever you want to call it, this day of the week. Ted, where can they find you?
TedSalmon.com. All the hooks go from there. Links out to all the stuff I do, audio podcasts and MeWe groups. Particularly are there as well. If you want to buy me a coffee, you can do that. It's at paypal.me/TedSalmon. And yeah, as I said earlier, I've started to use Mastodon again. So link to me there is in the show notes as well. And it'll be interesting to see how many people start using it.
Super trooper. We will catch us all in 2 weeks' time. And don't forget to tune in on Wednesday night, Thursday probably, by the time we get Projector Room up and going. And other than that, enjoy the rain and the sun and every other bit of weather that they throw at us over the next 2 weeks. And we'll speak to you all in a fortnight. Take care now.
Bye.